Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
we are now officially recording, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks, Nina. All right, I think Aryan, you're the first item on the agenda.
Hey everyone. Alright, so we've been trying to get a blog ready. We've been in that blog. Can I share my screen as well? Or
Yeah.
maybe head on to the GitHub. Uh, Alright, alright. So over here, I'm writing a blog on you know handling or using kgateway as an egress gateway for handling the outbound traffic that will be managing or handling the traffic that will reach out to an external container that's been running and as an Olama in our case it will be running outside of our cluster, and along with it, we will also be using, authorization policies will be engaging along with the HTTP authorization policies, also using the CL auth policies by the Kernel, will be integrating along with that as well, and then integrating them all along with the external auth while using kgateways XOR policies. So I'll set up all of these clusters and all these configs over here. We'll be using resolution DNS and um, have got them all the configs ready. I've been running them all. I've also, deployed a test video as well to my own YouTube channel, so we can watch over there as well. So
Yeah,
for managing along with the traffic policies, for the retries and attempts and all of these and the general things that we can see. We can head on to the demo section as well if you want.
yeah. Well, let's watch the demo because I think it kind of walks through the all the config
Yeah,
and people understand the
yeah. Thanks. All right.
Here in this particular demo, we'll try to establish a dedicated policy.
Isn't visible. Uh, is it visible?
It's taking a while to load.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can see it.
Started.
Here in this particular demo, we'll try to establish a dedicated policy enforced egress path, which will be helpful in outbounding the traffic from internal or from inside our cluster towards the external, the container that has been hosted outside of our cluster, that is the Olama. So it will be connected with the help of the service entry. That's why I have deployed the service entry or Olama external host, which will be connected with the help of the gateway or the kgateway, which will act as the egress gateway policies, proxies. Then we will have the HTTP route that will be helpful in routing all the kind of the traffic that will be forwarded towards the external container. Then the traffic policies and the authorization policies and the test container at the end. Yeah, so as you can see, I have deployed them all unchanged because I already configured them. Then yeah, I got some kind of error, and then I changed it as well. And then the deployed curl test client for deploying the client server as well. And for the authorization policies and all, we have settled some of the retries and the timeouts and a lot of other policies as well. In the traffic policies and the authorization policies, we have configured along with some of the policy that needs to be followed in order to get forwarded towards the external container that will be hosted somewhere else. And then later we'll try to run the the kubectl command. Yeah, here it is. We ran the kubectl command for 200, and then we got the 200. Yeah, as the status code, that is okay. And then later we also tried to stop the container, the Olama server, to try how many times it retries for running the whole process again. Yeah, and it gave 504 status code instead of just giving up the 200. So the thing is, it will continue giving try for the number of retry that has been hosted or been returned or passed in our file. It must be mentioned, yeah, over here. It's retry and attempts is 3. That's why it will attempt for 3 times before giving a final error code or the final error. Here it is. Yeah, the upstream requires timeout. It's not running at the moment, and the gateway timeout status code has been given. That's all for the whole demo. Thanks a lot.
There's a lot of pressure on India to stop.
Yeah, awesome. I think one thing I noticed, it shows, I think we do the one with the correct header, right? We probably want to also show the 403. So if you do the header with like X-force authorization false, it should also like show the deny output. So that might be a fun example to add to show like Kyverno is actually denying the request as well.
Yeah, sure. I'll get it included as well. Maybe edit the video as well for the demo purposes. It will be a lot better.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Any other feedback? Thanks for putting that together. I'm gonna plan to read through the blog that is posted in the PR as well, but the demo looked great.
I have a question. I saw Istio and ambient mode mentioned for this. Does this work with Agent Gateway at all, or no?
So
It might work along with, I haven't integrated along with it right now. We've been planning to go along with it as well, not along with the AWS right now. I haven't planned. Maybe Nina might have something to add.
So if you look at the security blog that's linked, it's actually not using Istio and ambient mode either. It's using kgateway, not as a waypoint, but just as an egress gateway. So the gateway class is just kgateway, and it's just using the Envoy data plane, but using the Istio service entry resource to set up the traffic to actually hit the Olama that's running locally in Docker. So it's using like Istio integration with the service entry, but it's not using kgateway as a waypoint in this blog.
Gotcha.
And Nina, I don't think that functionality is like that integration is done on Agent Gateway yet, right?
Yeah, we haven't done any integration there of that.
Yeah. I think Yossi was starting to look at that though, and was going to be bringing that in. So we're exploring it, but yeah, that's not in there quite yet for the same kind of demo. All right, Nina, I think you're next on the.
Yeah, I think John also joined, so he might have some more context on like the API changes. But I'm sharing my screen. Let me open Goland. So we had a PR actually recently merge. Let me pull it up. This one. So we introduced a new Agent Gateway policy CRD to replace traffic policy. So now the Envoy data plane will be still configured with traffic policy, but Agent Gateway has a new resource type that has configuration for both traffic, backend, and front end. So you can read through the changes here, but I'll kind of give an overview of what the changes are at the API level, and then can demo like one example of a new policy that we now support with this change. So if you're looking at the code base, there's a new type under the API's v1 alpha 1 called Agent Gateway Policy Type that has this new policy spec that in addition to like it still supports traffic refs and traffic selectors, but now instead of only attaching to like routes and gateways and listeners, you have specific subtypes that kind of have constraints on what you can attach policy to. So you have this new, like, for example, backend field that lets you attach policy to backends. And then this new front end field that lets you configure things like tracing in the future, access logs, which I'll show, and things like TCP, TLS, and HTTP. So this kind of lets us have a separate like agent gateway specific API without having the bad UX of having like a mismatched API where some fields are supported by one data plane and some fields are supported by a different data plane. So yeah, I guess like, are there any questions on the API or do people want to see it in action with like a access policy example?
What's front end in this context, Nina? Is that agent gateway specific?
Yes, yeah. So front end is not front end TLS. Let me find where is the actual field defined. So it's how we're handling all the incoming traffic. So it can only target a gateway right now. In the future, we might expand this, but right now it's just a gateway. And it has things like configuring the incoming like HTTP, TLS, TCP settings, and things at the gateway level like tracing and access logs. But yeah, so you won't have an equivalent. Like this closest thing to this in the Envoy world is the HTTP listener policy, where you could also configure like things like Envoy access logs and tracing. But this new API is like very different. So it's much more agent gateway specific. It maps like one-to-one to the agent gateway XDS protos. It supports like things like cell expression filters, which Envoy doesn't. So it's like, it lets us kind of expose a lot of the agent gateway functionality a little nicer because it's a separate CR.
And to add,
yeah, good.
I was just to add a little context, some of the motivation also is that like the agent gateway stuff is moving quick as the AI space is, and there's a lot of things that are going to change as we move forward here, and there's more likely things that'll be not relevant or new things that'll be relevant, and maybe potentially like more changes to the API surface. We didn't want to be destabilizing API surface for the Envoy implementation, which is a lot more, there's a lot more history, there are a lot more precedents. It's more coming over from the old Glue project. So we wanted that to be able to stabilize more over time and not introduce breaks as AI functionality has to keep moving forward, right?
Cool. Well, with that, I guess.
Sorry, Nina. I had a couple questions just about like the versions for this. So will this be like a 2.2 and later feature? Like we're not backporting this or anything. Is that right?
Yes, like this won't be backward.
Okay, and then my other question was like right now for the docs in Agent Gateway, like I haven't updated it for this new policy. Is like does traffic policy still work with Agent Gateway in 2.2 or no? So like probably those docs would be wrong in main now after this is merged.
We have an alpha release for people who want to keep continuing using traffic policy, but in 2.2, agent like traffic policy will no longer work with this PR merged.
Okay, cool. Thanks for confirming.
Is there anything?
Did we deprecate that in 2.1, or are we just gonna remove it straight up in 2.2?
I mean, traffic policy will work for Envoy, just won't work for the Agent Gateway data plane.
I got it. I mean, I guess the blast radius is pretty low. I think there's probably couple fields in traffic policy that were Agent Gateway specific. Maybe RBAC comes to mind.
RBAC is supported in Envoy, and I think we're not going to remove it. Like if
really? Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, uses the upstream RBAC Envoy filter.
Yep. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I think it also removes this weird use case when someone has configs and they decided to change data plane. In this case, basically, if they change data plane, they need to create the new configs with definition, right? So there's less confusion in terms of a user experience, right? So it's not like I'm changing my data plane and I'm going to use the same configs.
Yeah, so that won't be supported anymore. You can't like attach the same traffic policy to both
Right.
data. Yeah.
I think I'm on board though. I think we marked Agent Gateways alpha or beta in 2.1. I don't remember what we did.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little less concerned about a break.
I think the UX trade-offs are a lot better too, because it was a lot of confusion about what fields were supported and what fields weren't. So here, at least, like, everything in Agent Gateway policy is going to be supported with the Agent Gateway data plane.
It was only getting uglier and uglier as we moved forward and kept trying to merge more and add more features.
There's also
It's a lot cleaner.
There's nice improvements in the API, like a rate limit no longer has gateway extensions, because that's something that we needed on the Envoy side for scalability, but you don't really need on the Agent Gateway side. So you now can, sorry, that was very loud. You can now inline the descriptors, for example, without using the gateway extensions. All right, so with that, let me, I guess, show an example of like what this config actually looks like. So I guess first we can walk through like a example of the XDOF. Like XDOF is the same thing, like there's no gateway extensions anymore. So I'll show you what that looks like without the gateway extension. So like which one? So yeah. So very similar to as before, like traffic policy also had like a ref to a gateway extension. Now you just inline the ref to your XDOF server. So very similar. Rate limit is a little different, like I mentioned. So like the IP rate limit, for example, here you can now use cell expressions in your descriptors. So you can rate limit based on cell expression. You can also rate limit, I don't think I have any examples of this, but by token. So the global rate limit policy has in the descriptors field requests or token as possible units. So requests are still the default, but if you'd like to rate limit by token, you can now do that with the new rate limit Agent Gateway API. Cool. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to demo was like an actual example of this deployed. So I'll pull up with my K9s. So in my cluster, I just applied the test config because I didn't really have time to get a better demo. So this is the HTTP gateway test. So I have a gateway exposed on 8080 using the Agent Gateway class. I have a super simple HTTP bin route with the host name set. It's selecting HTTP bin. And then the new and exciting piece, the Agent Gateway policy. So this is the policy applied, and it's selecting my gateway, so the gateway we just looked at, and applying an access log policy. So this is something that you weren't able to do before with traffic policy, but now you can use the front end piece of the Agent Gateway policy to add headers that you want to log on the Agent Gateway side. So I've applied this policy already, so let's send some traffic. I've port forwarded, so this is, again, 8080 for me. And if I send a request like user ID Alice, and then pull up K9s again, I should just have it running in the background, and look at my logs, you can see that I have this logged. And the cool part about this, it's dynamic. So if I change this to be like something else like cool beans, and I reapply it. See if I can apply. And then let's send a request again. If we go back now, the access log has dynamically changed. So there's no more nasty config map edits to have to enable access logging. You can actually set it dynamically through this policy. And it's very expressive because it's all like cell-based expressions here. Any questions about the new API, or like anyone want to see anything else? Like,
How much has been ported over to the new API?
Everything and more, because the actual
Wow.
supported like backend config. We do have a couple nice good beginner issues if anyone's interested in like trying to contribute to kgateway. I've created a couple of good getting started issues to add end-to-end tests for the new fields. That is something that we want to quickly address as follow-ups, but yeah, everything's ported. Like the translation's like very simple because it's almost a one-to-one map of the agent gateway like resources, so it's not a very complicated translation loop.
Is the JWT off there too?
That's coming actually. I think Dmitri's in the progress of adding that as well. But yeah, that is still like, I think it's we don't have it in the, we still have it to do in the API, but or no, not this one. But it is soon to be implemented. Yeah. So it'll be on like the traffic piece of the agent gateway policy.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, they'll probably add it without the remote fetch, like sooner, like today maybe. And then the remote fetch will come in like a week maybe.
Wait, what do you mean by remote fetch, John? Is it just a local?
So there'll be two modes. One we're talking about the key set specifically. Normally you would fetch it from some URL or whatever, but you can also inline it. And sometimes I think probably the majority of people will do the remote fetch, but Dimitri's already working on adding the remote fetcher part, so it just takes a bit of work.
Yeah, the most embarrassing part is finding typos when you present it. But well.
I've never made a typo. I don't know what you're talking about.
Isn't this the whole value of that Copilot review tool, is to catch stuff like that?
It never catches typos though. Like yeah.
It catches them after they've merged and looks at different code that you didn't change.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. Stop sharing.
All right. Last one is, I think, Art and Mike.
Hey, yeah, I don't think Mike's on the call. He's in kind of a weird time zone, but he is one of our community members who's been working on a docs glossary project that I think we mentioned maybe a couple meetings ago. So I just thought that I would give an update on that. If you click the draft link, this is the latest iteration of it. Basically, it's just kind of like a collection of key terms along with definitions. So, if anyone wants to review or comment, feel free. Otherwise, I think Mike's going to start working on actually implementing these into the docs and trying to come up with like a short code feature for our static site generator so that like when you hover over these terms or whatnot, it will like pull up these kind of short definitions. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. I don't know if it's useful or a hard problem to solve, but Istra has the same short code. So if lifting that would be useful in some way, then I can help you find it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll look and I'll link it in the issue. Do you know, does Istio use Hugo?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
All right, this is completely unrelated, but is there a version switcher on the doc site now?
Yes, there is a version switcher in kgateway, and then there's not necessarily like a proxy switcher, let's say, right? Like between agent gateway and kgateway, but we might be looking into something like that, or just split out the agent gateway docs, just because like commingling, kind of like what Nina was saying with, the API is just kind of, even in the docs, it's kind of messy. But yeah. So.
Good, thanks.
Also unrelated, but Art, are you the one that's leading the updates for the new APIs in the docs, or is that someone else?
Like for the new agent gateway API split, yeah, it'll probably
Yeah.
be yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna offer my assistance if needed, so I wanted to make sure know who was gonna be working on it.
Awesome. Yeah. I think we haven't started. We're not sure if we want to like split up the docs set at the same time, or maybe we just update the docs as we go along. So I don't know if you have a preference, if you would rather us kind of split out the doc sets first, or like, kind of come up with an ideal for that versus, or just try to update what we currently have.
Yeah, I think we should have a split. I just don't know what it should look like. Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion.
Okay.
I think-
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
From what I've heard, I think it should just be like a full-on hard split because it's very, very confusing right now. Like some people I know are like, oh, this works with Istio. Oh, no, it doesn't work with Istio actually if you dig into it. And there's a bunch of stuff like that. So if it's a hard split, then people could just click a button and know what's supported for what the data plane they actually want to use.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think it'd be more visible too than like some sort of switcher.
Yeah, I think even I think that makes sense because I think even the install we should change to have like hey, you're installing for this type of data plane or for this data plane rather than installing all the CRDs because that's also a little confusing. Like if you're installing for Agent Gateway, why is there a traffic policy there if I didn't say I want to use that, right? So I think we should even add options to just install the specific CREs used by the data plane that the user's intending on deploying. And then it's not that you can't install them all together or you can't use them side by side. It's just it's an advanced use case, and we can assume that someone already kind of knows what they're doing if they're trying to attempt that, right?
Another thing maybe kind of related to the install and the split that came up when we were talking with some other teams like internally, product and field and whatnot, was whether the agent gateway and kgateway should be like a separate doc set in the kgateway world or in the agent gateway world, because we've had a lot of user feedback from like the agent gateway community. Let's say they're looking, how do I install this on Kubernetes? And then they kind of get shifted to a completely different doc set, different world in kgateway. I wasn't sure if this community had like strong feelings on whether whatever we end up splitting out, if it should, stay living in the kgateway domain, like kgateway.dev and all that, or if it, or if other people suggest it being in the agent gateway.dev kind of space, if that would be an issue or not. Does that make sense?
I think that the APIs are in kgateway, and so if there's like automations to make sure API docs are up to date, it's easier to build it out there and have the site redeploy there when changes come in and stuff like that. I think that they should cross-link more than they do already. So I think like even just the readmes, top readmes on each project, right? Like should really cross-link to say like, this implements Agent Gateway. And there's some of that already in there. And that should be like high level on the docs on each too. So it's like, and maybe we think about even like a permanent button on each doc site that kind of like, if you're on the Agent Gateway control plane site, you kind of or the kgateway, like Agent Gateway control plane, can take you to the data plane docs and vice versa. I think there's a lot of ways we could make them feel more integrated, even if they do live under different domains, right?
Yeah, makes sense. Cool.
I don't have a terribly strong preference. Like if we did want to move it, we could. So I'm not saying I have a preference on that, but I just, even if we kept it the way it is, I think there's a lot of improvements we can make.
Yeah.
Maybe
Definitely.
the split helps with that though, because then it's like you actually have something to link to that is clearly the control plane for Agent Gateway, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that will help for sure. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to get kind of the community's feedback on that before we kind of propose a bunch of crazy things that change everything. So,
does anyone else have any thoughts? We can keep iterating too. All the split sounds like a nice improvement. I think the API, obviously, I think like it seems like the API split's a good improvement, and so then we should make the docs representative of that. I think it'll all be step in the right direction. We can keep iterating to make it clear to people.
Thanks.
There, guys.
Thanks for joining,
Thank you.
everyone.